Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It's Geoff, Mosher, Adam Caplan. The page is turned. This is now Eagles Playoff Inside the Birds podcast. And Adam, I'm going to start the show by saying this. I've had premonitions lately.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Uh-oh. No, this is not ominous premonitions. This is what I feel. I'm a big historian. We always go down memory lane.
Oh, don't go back to 2010. Don't do
No,
it.
no, no, no. I'm going to go back the history, the modern Super Bowl history, because we know that these teams played each other and the Eagles won in 1960 for the NFL championship.
Yes,
But
yes.
in the Super Bowl era, they have only met twice in the playoffs. We know both of the games. The first one was the 2003 season. It occurred in 2024. The game was 4th and 26, right? Infamous game. The Eagles win it. Bam. The next one, of course, was the 2010 season,
Yep.
and that was a loss. And that was Aaron Rodgers throwing 3 touchdowns. And I guarantee you, I don't know if you've looked at the box score of that game,
I
but I
did.
guarantee, oh, I was going to say, two of those three guys who caught touchdowns, there's no way even like the most hardcore fan will remember who two of these three guys who caught touchdowns were, because they were just the
All
Packers
right.
were so beat up that year. They were pulling guys off the street.
Well, okay, so Brandon Jackson was the running back. Him, I remember.
That
Out
people
of
will remember.
Nebraska,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then the other one, only because I've talked to this guy over Twitter years ago, Tom Crabtree.
Okay.
He was a
Nice.
backup wide tight end. Yeah. Yeah. In fact, Starks was was it James Starks?
James Jones.
No, the running
Oh.
back, James Starks.
It was it Starks? They
It was
had, oh,
Starks, yeah, and he went
yeah, 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 yeah.
University of Buffalo.
Yep.
Who may he's probably before Khalil Mack. I'm guessing it was before Khalil Mack.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Driver, who this is near the end of his career. I'm looking at these names. Andrew Carlos, did he go to Penn State?
He did go
Carlos?
to Penn State.
See, my man Greg Jennings. I know Greg a little bit. Our guy
Mhm.
Yvonne from Q&A. Macklin, Riley Cooper. You
Yep.
remember what happened there? Missed it.
Yep.
Oh, Jerome Harrison. Holy smokes, he had to carry that game.
Wow, how about that? A 3-yard carry for Jerome
I
Harrison.
didn't even know he was on the team then. Shady didn't do anything.
No, he did not.
Wow. Hmm.
So the point of going through the John Kuhn, remember him, the Packers
Yep, fullback.
fullback?
Yep.
I love this. But yeah, Tom Crabtree caught a touchdown and a guy named James Jones, who people know
Yes.
about. But
Oh,
Brandon
yeah.
Jackson would probably be the other one people forget about. And then Starks, it's not like Starks was a guy who, was an 8-time Pro Bowler. I mean, that game is memorable for Aaron Rodgers charting the course to step into our consciousness as a guy becoming an elite quarterback. That year, he won 3 road playoff games with a very beat up roster, and then they win the Super Bowl, right? And Aaron Rodgers arrived that year. Not that he wasn't, any good the year before, but it's really obviously he won a Super Bowl, and he was like a goalie standing on his head. He could do no wrong
Mhm.
in the playoffs. They lost player after player. They wound up losing Donald Driver at some point. I think maybe in the Super Bowl they lost Woodson. They lost some of their best players that year, and he willed
Wow.
them to win. So between that game, the Aaron Rodgers arrival, and the Eagles win in 2023 wild card game, or divisional game, I think it was the 4th and 26 game, Adam.
Mhm.
They're very memorable. And these are two really good teams about to duke it out on Sunday here at 4:30. I think no matter what happens, this is going to be a memorable game. It's not going to be like some 31-16 type of win for either team. It's not going to be, oh,
Really? You
it's,
don't think the Eagles could
it's going to
you
be
don't think the
memorable.
Eagles could do that?
I think the Eagles can win, certainly. I think
No,
they
no, but you don't think the Eagles could beat them by 2 touchdowns? I do.
I don't I think they have the talent to do so, but I think this game is going to be memorable. I think it's
Oh,
just going
wow.
to be
Okay, so
one
you
of
have a
those
gut
games.
feeling. Now, one thing that most people don't know, because I didn't realize this, the Eagles also lost to the Packers in week 1 in Philly. In fact, okay, now I remember now because Cobb got hurt. Didn't Kevin Cobb get hurt? Was that oh
The
nine?
2010, yeah, that was yeah. Michael Vick became the quarterback that
Yeah,
season.
yeah, yes. Cobb got hurt in that game. Vic took over,
Mm-hmm.
and he never looked back. In that game, boy, now here's some names you all remember, or if you really follow it. Michael Finley, you remember him?
Tight end, very very good tight
Yep,
end.
yep. Ryan Grant backed up Brandon Jackson that game. Eagles wise, oh man, our guy Leonard Weaver, man. Weave, yep.
We
And a guy you've mentioned over the years. It's been many years. and I think this guy is okay. I'm gonna have to give the name out because I have to ask you if he's from Philly. Was Eldred Buckley from Philly, that area? Am I wrong about that?
I don't remember Eldred Buckley being from Philly.
Okay.
No,
But I
I mean, he
remember
might be,
him.
but I don't remember that.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Selleck, of course. Mike McGlynn caught a pass, a 1 yard pass in that game.
Eldred
Wow.
Buckley is from Mississippi. So
Okay. There was some back Eagles side many years ago. But anyway, listen to some of the names, though, played in that game in week one. Lucilio Hansen, of course, Kurt Coleman, Stuart Bradley, Quit Michael, Broderick Bunkley. We haven't mentioned him very much. Asante Samuel. And somehow, what show this week did you mention this guy? And I couldn't, I think you brought him up. I don't think it was me, or I think it was just you. Ernie Sims. How did you come up with that one?
we were talking about Sidney Brown and his sort of
Oh,
he's so fast
yeah.
from in a straight line and he tends to over pursue.
Sims did that. Yeah.
In fact, Jason Avant and Quentin Michael talked about Sidney Brown at great length in Q&A, which was up Tuesday morning. Everybody should check it out. They really like his tenacity. And Jason, this is a great breakdown, right? This is a great, you give your strengths and you give your
Yeah.
weaknesses, which is how it should be. Jason noted that on the play where Sidney Brown sort of took out Aaron Rodgers and broke up the pass in the right corner right before the end zone on Neighbors. Do you remember that play? There was a pass to Neighbors deep. Sidney Brown came over from the deep safety position and broke up the pass, but he took Neighbors and Isaiah Rodgers out at the same time.
Yes, I do.
So that
Yeah.
play occurred sort of outside the numbers. And Jason and Quentin were both saying for a safety, a deep safety who is playing in one spot to be able to get that over that quickly and make that play just shows you great alertness, awareness, speed, quickness, and everything. However, they also noticed that in run defense, and we talked about this in the post-game show, maybe that's when I mentioned it, he took some really, it's not that he takes bad angles, it's just he's so relentless. He doesn't have discipline. He doesn't have speed discipline, just like our friend Ernie Sims didn't have. So, Ernie Sims would get burned on screens because he would run out to try to cover the receiver, and the guy would make one move, and Ernie would be like in the dust. So he's got to learn his own speed versus play speed versus speed of the game, and how not to overrun and over pursue and
So,
run.
so, yes, I agree. The problem is he plays like a missile. He plays one way.
Mm-hmm.
Why he's more of a box player. That's generally why he was drafted where he was drafted. Despite his obvious talent, high character, physical, pretty good athlete. But getting back to Ernie Sims, this is just how long ago this was. Well before the Eagles signed him, when I would go to watch tape with Ron Jaworski and Greg Cosell at NFL Films, I distinctly remember them showing me Ernie Sims running side to side, overrunning plays, being like, let's say you're the ball carrier and he sees you. He's lined up on the left. Let's say he's playing strong side and he's go over the weak side. He would see it, and this comes the shark in the water point that Sean McDermott made it of my question. What do you think of Ernie Sims, the shark in the water? That's what he would do. That's why I brought it up. He would see it, and he died. He goes, "That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go after that guy." And he'd run. And I remember watching this tape with those guys, 14, 15 years ago, and him completely being out of position. But he was so fast, which is why he was a first round pick, I believe, of the Lions, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, number 9 overall, if I'm not mistaken. He was
Oh, is that
very high.
right? Oh, yeah.
I'll double check that, but I'm
Look that
sure it
up.
was
That's I
really
don't
high.
doubt it. That's embarrassing if it was.
Yeah, he was
God,
it was a
college tape wasn't
very
even
high.
that good. Explosive, but not undisciplined. Jeez.
Yep, 9th overall pick. I believe that
Oh,
was a Matt Millen pick. We won't talk about what school Matt Millen.
next time I see the Matt, yeah. Next time I see him, I'm gonna have to ask him about that one.
Uh,
Anyway,
Anyway,
he's doing okay.
so yeah, that was a real topic. Sidney Brown was a topic of discussion on Q&A. And this week, you and I, just for our listeners to know, we were determined to give everybody as much extra and special coverage of the Eagles playoff because we sense that this could be a very special year. It could be a Super Bowl year for the Eagles. So already we've got Q&A up. For our Patreon members, we had an awesome conversation on Monday night with Jeff Nixon. Who's Jeff Nixon? Well, he's the offensive coordinator for Syracuse. Why would you talk to the offensive coordinator for Syracuse? Well, he also happens to be a former Eagles coach who coached Brian Westbrook. He coached LaShawn McCoy. He was the former Carolina Panthers running backs coach, so he coached Christian McCaffrey. And last year, before the Syracuse job, he was with the Giants in 2023, and he was Saquon Barkley's running backs coach. So what a plethora of amazing running backs this man has coached, and for him to give us some time to talk about what it was like to coach Saquon on top of being, a guy who coached under Andy and knows the Eagles organization. He had some interesting stories about knowing Howie and Joe Banner, how he feels about Philadelphia sports. It was just a great conversation. And by the way, he was also in San Francisco with Chip on the same staff with Jeff Hafley, who is the Packers defensive coordinator, who was able to give us a scouting report.
That was great.
Jeff Hafley.
That was the one you had told me this because it was before I looked up his bio. I'm like, oh man, let's see
Hmm.
what he's got to say. And he immediately goes in, okay, here's what you can expect from coverage, and here's the way he plays defense. I was like, geez, wow.
Yep.
You
So it
know,
was great. It was. I mean,
great.
we could have spent 2 more hours with him just
Yeah,
asking him
good
about
job. Yeah,
so much.
that was a hell of a get. I mean, that was like it's one of the best gets we've ever had. And then this is really cool. Okay, this is really cool. Tonight, a Super Bowl winner, okay, for Patreon, but not with the Eagles, but he did play for the Eagles. His father's now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's Dan Klecko,
It's about time.
who was a great dude who used to work for WIP. I worked with him when I did media for the Eagles, and he is so opinionated.
Hmm.
We're doing this is going to be a live stream. I know you talked to him. You know, I go way back with him, and I know he's following Eagles closely. I'm really interested because I've not talked to him in a long time. I'm curious to think or find out how he sees this team in his own eyes. This is a Super Bowl level team. What's going to take to get Super Bowl? I hope our members ask. They kind of run the thing, but if they don't ask it, I'm asking. So
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. This will be our Ask an Eagle that we do each month for
yes,
our tier 2 and tier 3 members. And they're going to fire away and ask Dan all the questions. And like you said, the guy's got multiple Super Bowl rings. He's got a lot of playoff experience. He's been an Eagle, so he can answer just a whole variety of questions that our great Patreon members can have. This is the stuff you need to get. If you want to be the most educated, most informed, become a Patreon member. It's patreon.com/inside the birds. But listen, the bonuses don't stop there. As you know, maybe people are already found out. If not, you might find out for the first time here listening to this. But we also did a roundtable. You, myself, and Andrew DeCecco. We did it through Zoom, so it's a square screen, but it's a roundtable. We did a nice Eagles playoff preview that is up on all the platforms right now, and it's great to have Andrew involved because he really gives you his experience being in the locker room, talking to players, talking to coaches, getting some of the angles that you can only get if you're there. And he had some really interesting stories and intel to give us. And, it was a really good about 50-minute long conversation.
yeah. In fact, he had some stuff that I had not heard before because again, he's there, and every beat reporter, this of being in the locker room for many years there, you get to know certain players, and he
Mhm.
had some stories which I don't think he's discussed before because because this is the first time we've done this type of show, so you don't know where the conversation's going, which is kind of cool. It was free flowing. Andrew brought up a bunch of things that I had not heard him talk about before, and we didn't know that he was going to talk about. That was great. And also, which you mentioned Tuesday night, also for tier 3 was the Ask Greg Cosell live stream. That's another one, another perk that you get as we know because we've seen this and they've told us this live. We appreciate the comments we got about a bunch of the folks say that they feel like they're more educated and they're smarter, and that's why we did this. So we
Yeah.
appreciate it.
And just to let everyone know now for Thursday's show, Inside the Tape with Greg Cosell, we're not going to do tape review all 22 clips of Eagles versus Giants. We're going to get heavy into Eagles Packers, and we're going to get Greg's perspective,
Yep.
tape perspective, and we'll break down some all 22 footage of recent Packers, recent Eagles to see how they match up and what to expect. So I know everybody wants some Tanner McKee highlights, and he's the big talk, but we are, again, turning the page to the playoffs. The backup
Yep.
quarterback is Kenny Pickett. That's the way
Thank you very much.
it is. Okay. Didn't think I had to say that, but sometimes you hear things out there and you just got to clear that up. So that's everything that's coming up this week. And of course, we'll have even more and we'll let you know on our socials and on our podcast. And listen, the important thing is, Adam, regular season's over, and now it's time for the playoffs. Playoffs? We're talking about playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is the key to winning in the playoffs, and you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple, like a player to score 6. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. The lines are already up on DraftKings. The Eagles, 4.5 point favorites against the Packers. Lines and odds are subject to change. New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code BIRDS pregame. That's code BIRDS pregame, all one word, for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
I got to tell you, this is one of the strongest NFC groups I've seen. Yes, there's a drop off between the first two teams, the Lions and Eagles, and the rest of the teams, but the Vikings are not. See, the Vikings, because of the craziness of how good the Eagles and Lions are, the Vikings are the fifth seed. But Washington's very capable of winning against the Bucks. I know you do you're going to do your preview, the playoff preview, right? You can do
I will.
Right?
I will.
I don't know. You and I haven't talked about it. I'm curious who you're going to like. I know I can tell you right now, I like Washington to win that game outright. So I like the 3 points. But if you just look at the matchups in the NFC in week one, sometimes the matchups aren't very good for the playoffs. But these matchups, I mean, look, okay, Eagles, Packers. Eagles are clearly better. We'll get more into that as the week progresses. But the Packers could score. Vikings, Rams. The Vikings are only a 1.5 favorite. I'm surprised by that. I'm not sure. I don't know why. I would have them as a 3 or 4 point favorite, but that's fine. We'll see how it plays out. The Steelers, okay, I know they're struggling, but are you serious? They're a 10-point underdog? Jeez. Wow.
Adam, I'm shocked to see. I know it's deserved, but I'm still shocked to see
their history. I mean, okay,
I know.
Okay.
I know a rivalry game like that.
Yeah. And Denver, like
want
a
to stay
9
away
point.
from.
Yeah, I would stay away from them. But the Denver game, look, Denver's playing really well. And then the Chargers, look, I think the whole country sees it the same way. Why? Everybody's on the Chargers. That's why they're actually a favorite against the struggling Texans.
Yeah.
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 So.
There's some interesting games. It's going to be a wild card weekend. By the way, they do not call it Super Wild Card Weekend anymore. Is
yeah, you know what? It's funny.
Weekend?
I looked at the press releases. I didn't see that. But I like these matchups. So the NFC ones, I think they're just better than the AFC overall. I mean, I think they could be fun, very competitive, intriguing. Yeah, I mean, Daniels versus Mayfield. I cannot, but both quarterbacks are playing out of their minds. I mean, Jaden Daniels is so far ahead of schedule, and Baker Mayfield, you got to be. Liam Cohen could be a head coach because of this. Again, another Bucks guy. Dave Canales, the last guy who got it. And then, can the Vikings rebound against the Rams? And the Rams have far surpassed what most people thought. Though you never know what you're getting from them at home, in particular. Dolphins came in there, crushed them, but that'll be a fun game. So overall, I like the NFC games.
There you go. Remind me of the rule. If someone requests an interview, a head coach interview, can that person be blocked?
No,
Okay.
but there's only, but if depending if you're coaching this week, like if you're not coaching this week, there's certain things you can do. And the coaches are working this week. There's only certain, like you have to wait. It's and also in-person interviews you can't do for a while anyway.
Right.
So there's certain things but you can't block anyone to be a head coach. Yeah, that they cannot.
So we know Kellen Moore has some interviews lined up. I got Eagles fans mad at me. The Eagles fans are funny sometimes. It's as if they think that nobody in the NFL recognizes things. And I get it. There are some franchises that I do wonder if they know who the good candidates are. But I made a tweet that amazes me that nobody requests to interview Jeff Stoutland every year, even if he declines or even if he has said he doesn't want to, at least try, right? I mean, inquire. Maybe he's changed his mind. You don't know, but he's certainly a guy that you would think from a resume standpoint would be interesting enough to at least interview for a head coaching job, because he's not just considered a strategist. He's considered a developer of talent and a
leader
and locker room guy. Eagles fans were like, Geoff, shut up, delete this. Don't. I mean, people know
Oh,
who
why?
Stalin is.
Because they don't want him to leave. Is that why?
Yeah, yeah. They're like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah, I get it.
gosh, it's all your fault if you let. No,
Why would you
no.
do
But
that? Well, here's the
yeah,
thing. They would go to the agent. They would go to the agent. Hey, would you think Stout would want to be a head coach?
right.
Because that would they wouldn't waste their time. But you know what's interesting? The Panthers actually Frank Reich, and they couldn't work it out. Frank Reich originally wanted to hire Stout as his offensive coordinator, I'm told,
Hmm.
but they know he wouldn't be calling the plays, and the Eagles go. You see on the permission slip, you have to list not only the title but what the guy actually does. Well, Stout was not going to call the plays. Would have been
Right,
Frank, so
right.
that they would have blocked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I know
yeah.
I know Stoutland has said in the past he's very happy. He might be the highest paid offensive line coach in the league. He has other responsibilities. He's loves being in the Northeast. But he's really good, and I'm sure if somebody flattered him enough, he might consider, what would it be like if I was offered this job? I mean, he's from New York. The Jets have a head coaching
Staten
opening.
Island.
You would
Yeah.
think, yeah, he's from Staten Island. You'd think they'd even ask. I mean, like it's not like you're going far from home,
Well,
coming closer.
well, look, the Alec Hallaby, I know they put that permission slip in,
Yeah.
so Alec will get this as another crack. He interviewed for the
I think it was the Commanders
Panthers.
last year. Yeah. No,
Uh,
what's the Panther? It was both, wasn't it?
Commanders, yes, and I think the Panthers also.
Yeah.
But yeah, and by the way, that owner David Tepper is obsessed with the Eagles. He's had a number of people who've worked for the Eagles over the years that he's tried to hire or has hired some
He has
over
hired
the
some.
years.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
no, I just know that for a fact that and I know him and Jeffrey have a pretty good relationship. He likes the way, from what I understand, the Eagles do their business. But yeah, Stout's a leader. You might remember this. Remember, I believe I'd have to look this up. I remember distinctly it being those Jim Johnson press conferences, and I know Jim said he was happy being the Eagles defensive coordinator, but
Hmm.
he was so elite. You were a beat reporter then. Do you remember anyone putting a slip in for him?
It's a
I
great
don't
question.
I don't
I
remember.
actually don't.
Yeah, so what I recall, and again, we're like talking before Jim got sick, but I just remember him, and Andy actually talked about this as Andy studied him when he put his coaching list together, coordinators and assistants. He just thought he was really tough to go against, just like Vic Fangio was. And back then, Jim Johnson was just like it's on like another level around the National Football League.
Hmm.
During my formative years of covering the league and just learning about what people thought about this guy and just the reverence, the way that he did the zone blitzes and so forth. And as you know, you were there in the locker room and around the players and everybody. You've heard Quentin Michael talk about it, especially because he played for him. So it's guys get in their 60s. It doesn't mean he can't be a head coach. As we talk about Stout, as you brought this up, I remember you texted me about that,
Hmm.
and then you and I talked off the air about it. I'm like, I don't remember anyone ever going after him, other than I heard Reich had sincere interest in hiring him somehow to get him on a staff, and they knew the only way would be a coordinator, but it wouldn't work because he wasn't calling the plays. So
Right.
I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. Stout, it's a great question. Why wouldn't A, the guy's a leader, B, could handle the run game, but you don't know from an offensive play calling standpoint, and it's not like an offensive line coach can call plays, but he hasn't done it before.
Right.
And you have to ask yourself, what are you hiring him for? You want him to be a CEO head coach?
Hmm.
What kind of coach do you want out of him? And that's the thing.
There you go. All right. So again, Kellen Moore will interview, and we'll see what happens there. Man, it would be tough if the Eagles lost him because I mean, you lose an offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator, but that is how it works in the NFL. Adam, let's set the table for the week
Yeah.
because it's a Sunday game, sort of a normal game. And real quick joke because we're not going to get through it. This podcast is not the time for it, but the schedule for next year is out. And as everybody has
Yeah.
seen, I mean, the Eagles are playing on top of the five division winners that you always play when you win the division. They've got three other teams on their four that are wild card teams. I mean, they are not going to play a 1 o'clock game on Sunday next year, maybe until like the season finale against the Giants again. So the next year, I'm already dreading all the night games and the 3 a.m. Finishing
Oh
of the
man,
show and all that.
yeah, it's tough because we got so lucky over the final 6 weeks when these games were not flexed at night.
Yeah.
Every week we go, oh, this is going to happen. You know it's going to happen. Here we go, and it didn't happen. I'm like, oh my god, Then I texted you, or I talked to you Sunday afternoon. I think I said got a real shot for this game not to be at night, for this to be the Sunday afternoon game at 4 o'clock, or I didn't, whatever the hell it was, 4:30. It is 4:30.
Mhm.
Just based on a couple things that I'd heard. I was like, man, please don't be at night. Just whatever you do. And honestly, I would have taken Saturday at night. I don't care about that. But
Right.
don't give me Sunday night or Monday night, for goodness sake.
Go look at the
Thank you.
playoff schedule this week. All right.
Yeah.
Everybody look at the playoff schedule for this week
Okay.
and next week. Guaranteed one of those teams you're looking at that's not the Eagles is playing the Eagles next year. It's just
Oh
unbelievable.
yeah, because their schedule. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah,
No,
they're going to be a prime
it's a
time
tough one.
feast. Yeah, absolutely.
I would
But
say
anyway,
this.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say the gauntlet that they had last year, and they won just about every one of those games. We knew it was a weird thing; they weren't quite as good as those wins would indicate.
Hmm.
But that schedule was crazy. Buffalo, Kansas City, a number of games in a row that they play were so difficult.
Yep.
Almost their entire season's difficult, quite frankly, other than the Giants, of course.
Yeah, and you kind of
No.
assume that the Commanders are headed in the right direction with Daniels,
Yep.
and it'll be two tough games as well. So anyway, going beyond that, this is a normal week of practice, which means the Eagles will be on the practice field today through Friday. They'll have their Saturday walkthrough. The first injury report should be out this afternoon, and we will, as you said, you always look to see if there are any pop-up injuries. There shouldn't
Oh
be because nobody
no.
played. Nobody, no,
Yeah.
no starters played.
But the backups might have one. Who
But the
knows?
backups might have one, and we'll hope that Dallas Goedert made it through that quarter and a half that he played unscathed,
He looked
and he'll
good,
be
by the
good
way.
to go. He did. He
He looked
did.
really good. It's so funny because I remember like texting, all right, get him out, just get him out now. Why is he in? Why is he in? And then he got jacked up a couple of times. Like, what are they waiting for? Maybe they wanted to see him get hit. I don't know. Weird.
Very strange. All right. Speaking of that, we'll talk about the Eagles injury update here, sponsored by our friends at Stretch Zone. Sign up for your no obligation 30-minute free stretch at stretchzone.com. Now, when the Eagles practice today, there's the full expectation JalenHurts will be on the field practicing and everything is back to normal. And in case anybody wants to read into it or whatever, I mean, the Eagles did waive Ian Book on Tuesday. So they go into the playoffs with Jalen is the starter. Kenny Pickett's the backup. Tanner McKee is the emergency inactive third string or emergency third stringer.
Yeah, you don't need four quarterbacks in a 53-man roster. I mean, it's just, you don't. Um, and then by the way, he could be not that anyone would claim him. I'll die if somebody claims him on today. It's just, it's
You don't think the
that
Packers will claim him to get all that intel?
that would be, how funny would that be? Although, yeah, in fact, yes. Now I have to look at this because it used to be the old rule was once the playoffs start, any player that's waived cannot be claimed until after the Super Bowl.
Mm.
Look at the personnel notice, which I got on Tuesday. Claiming is 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, so I don't, I don't know. I'm surprised that that happened. I mean, I'm surprised that they're not doing the old rule. But yeah, so and look, Pickett's ribs are good enough. They smartly kept him out of the game. That's why they kept Book on the roster, which is good. So that Kenny showed he could play with them. By the way, did a great job 2 weeks ago. That was Yeoman's job, no question about it. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll see what Hurts does today in terms of is he limited or not. But we know this: if he's working in practice, he's at least at stage 4. That's really big of the five stage protocol.
Right. And then, of course, we've got the wide receivers. A.J. Brown been dealing with the knee, and Devontae Smith the wrist. It's his right wrist, correct?
Correct. Yeah, in my notes, yes, it is his right wrist. If you remember, a couple weeks ago, he came off. He bent it back, and it came off, and the TV camera put it on his right wrist, and they taped it up, came back in, fine. Had 2 touchdowns, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. And then, of course, Goddard, as you mentioned, looked good. N'Kobe Dean should be good from the abdomen injury, good to go. As far as players who are on injured reserve, Britton Covey. So the earliest Covey can come out, we should remind some of the protocol here. First of all the elevations start over. Like nobody is out of elevations now that the playoffs begin. And you can be elevated as many times in the playoffs as needed. There's no limitations anymore. So I'm
2
sure
per
the
game,
Eagles will.
right? But
Well, no, I'm
players,
sorry. Yes, yes. An individual player can be elevated for every single playoff game. That's fine.
which is great. I don't, you know what? And I wish they do. Week 18, I give like the league credit and
Mhm.
competition committee for relaxing the rules after COVID, extending the practice squats to 16 and having elevations and so forth. The other thing that they really should do, week 18, they should up the elevations because clubs know, like the Eagles should not have had to play. They didn't have to play. They didn't have to play Goddard. I think it was just more about getting him. They wanted him to get loose and knock off the rust. That's fine.
Right.
But they should be able to. It's really for teams that have clinched. It's a developmental week. You saw what the Eagles did. It actually worked out very well. They learned a lot more about McKee. A lot of some young backups got time. That was a great thing. Every team should have this advantage, like where if you don't need the game or you're out of the playoffs, you should have maybe up to 8 elevations.
Hmm.
So some of these kids, like Gabe Hall, should have been on he should have played. That was ridiculous. Not the
I
Eagles' fault.
I
I'm
agree.
not blaming them. I'm blaming the league. Like Gabe Hall should have played in that game. That's disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. I don't know how the NFL could get around it because there are still meaningful games going on, and you don't want to give sort of
I
unfair
know.
advantages to those. Obviously, you would love to have the games that don't mean anything, a little bit of a roster exemption where you can just have guys play and not
Like
worry
that,
about that.
right?
Yeah,
Like that. To
yeah.
something where it's just disappointing. The Eagles gave this guy a massive practice squad guarantee, and he's got a lot of upside. I know he wasn't drafted, so obviously there's a problem.
Yep.
But when the game doesn't mean anything, give
Hmm.
him some extra juice, man. It's I don't know. I don't know why, and why only 2 practice? Let's just look at the whole 18 weeks and 17 games. Why only 2 elevations? Why not 4? Like what? Come on.
I know.
More
There
than that.
feels like there's something that could be done there.
Yeah. Anyway,
Dallas Gant. I'm sorry. I keep going off the. You said Dallas Gant, and I remember when the Eagles had a backup center named Dallas Austin. I'm sure you remember him. You remember Dallas Austin?
Dallas Austin?
Yeah, he was
No,
like a backup offensive lineman.
in Dallas Reynolds.
I'm sorry, Dallas Reynolds. Thank you.
And he's got from BYU, yeah, because Dallas Austin. I never
Yeah,
heard of him.
Dallas Reynolds.
Yeah.
And
66, I think, without looking. Good.
I just remember a TV reporter sticking a microphone in his face while we're all huddled around him outside the NovaCare.
I
And the
think I
TV
know this.
reporter says, "Is it tough to be an athlete named Dallas in Philadelphia?" And Dallas Reynolds says, "It's just my name. Not really." Nobody ever asked Dallas Goddard if he had trouble making friends in Philadelphia, right? Because his name is Dallas
It's so
Goddard.
funny. It's so funny.
Oh
Oh
man.
yeah, Dallas Goddard, right? Yeah.
I'm gonna write a book someday, man. I'm gonna write a book on all the craziest stuff that goes on with reporters and just some of the funny stories.
You mean now some of the stuff that happened behind the scenes, like the fights
Yeah,
between?
yeah. I'll write it. No, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't. I'm
No,
not.
I know, but just the funny stuff that happens on the road and in the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it. Yep, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, some of the stuff that's gone on from reporters has been in books, like the old Phillies beat. Somebody wrote a book about how crazy the Phillies beat writers were, and they would brawl with each other. And
Oh,
it's well known that a couple of Eagles beat reporters brawled with each other at one
yeah,
point.
and I told you I was at ESPN then, and then someone that someone was on the road to work for the Eagles said, "Was I there that day?" Because they wouldn't know what play by play. I'm like, dude, I wasn't there. I'm trying to find out. I want to find out what the hell happened.
Yeah,
Like that was a huge. Yeah, we don't need to get into who it was, but um, the one with was it Mark Bowden? I know I read the book. I just can't remember. It's been so long ago. Was it
I can.
Bowden? Was his? It was what I didn't. Next time I see Seth Joyner, I want to know what he had to be. Yeah, he was there then. It was the one, Wes Hopkins, and just some of the craziness behind the scenes of that
Yeah,
one team.
yeah,
Bringing the heat, maybe?
something like that. It was sort of like the Philadelphia version of Bronx Zoo, right?
Yes, it
Sparky
was
Lyle's Bronx Zoo.
phenomenal. Yeah, the behind the scenes stuff, kind of like wow.
Uh-huh.
Like, how did they get this information? The storytelling was so good.
Yep.
God, Bowden, Mark, I don't know. Why don't I know? Go, keep
By the
going.
way,
I'll look up.
everybody, do yourselves a favor. If you love baseball and you love stories that we're talking about, buy the book. If you're younger and never heard of it or read it, Bronx Zoo, about the
Yep.
late '70s New York Yankees, with Sparky Lyle leading the crazy clubhouse there, and stories of players trading wives. Literally, 2 players traded wives. Adam, did you know that in the late '70s? Do you remember that story?
I heard some crazy, but no, so you've told this story that you interviewed Sparky Lyle when he was a
Oh,
minor league coach,
interviewed.
correct?
I was with him every
Yeah.
single day for
Did you
four.
talk to him about it, Bronx Zoo?
Yes, I would ask him about these things. I would go, Sparky, this could not have happened.
No.
And he'd be like, I'll call up somebody right now and they'll confirm it. Like, I guess if you put it in a book, it really had to happen because nobody has sued you. So Sparky used to sit on people's birthday cakes after pulling his pants down. He would sit on a birthday cake
Oh,
when I mean, it was just so crazy.
all
You
right.
never hear that
Wow.
stuff in
For
professional
me,
sports
by the
anymore.
way, number 39 for the Phillies, without looking it up, the mustache. It was Bringing the Heat by Mark Bowden.
Okay.
You could get it on Amazon, 6.9, maybe digital copy. It's phenomenal. It's been probably 25 years since I read it.
Uh-huh.
Just the I could not, as a reporter, you get access to certain things. It was this, and he also wrote Black Hawk Down, by the way. Mark did.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
this guy's a great writer, and I guess he was a beat reporter in the 80s and maybe early 90s. But anyway,
Mhm.
I just remember reading it like I could not believe the detail, and I was just my mouth dropped at some of the stories. I don't want to get into it. I don't
Uh-huh.
want to give it away. It's one of those, if you read it, you're like, this didn't happen, like you just said. You mentioned something in passing. Something similar was alleged with the Eagles then, with
Oh
players.
God, there are just crazy things going on with
There's stuff that goes on behind the scenes, folks. We can never talk about. It's disgusting.
right.
But you can't put, and who knows? It's been alleged, over the years. Certain, a lot of teams go through this stuff. But anyway, Mark
Allegedly.
Bowden bringing the
A
heat.
great
Go ahead.
word. Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. I say allegedly
Allegedly.
because I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I read it. You never know. But I just
Uh,
remember reading this book because I didn't. Someone told me about it. Said you have to read this. You will not believe this. It's one of those like if you're traveling and you remember someone told you whatever you do, get the book. So I don't read a
mhm.
lot of books. I'm not a voracious reader like my wife and other friends of mine. But I'm like
Right.
I got to get it. And in fact, now I'm gonna probably want to get it again just to now that I've talked about it. But anyway, let's move on.
Yes. So we were talking about injuries, and of course,
All right.
defensively, or offensively, the guys were on IR. We mentioned Covey, so he's got to miss the next two playoff games. This one coming up against the Packers, and then the divisional round game. He would
Yep.
be eligible for the NFC Championship game if they feel like they
Well,
want him on the 53.
here's the thing. It's he's not cleared medically as I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
From that, there's something I don't know exactly what it is with his neck. I just know that it's a medical issue with his neck.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's got to get cleared. He's not been cleared. He's still. I look. Let's call it like it is. If he's healthy, he should be the punt returner. I know it's been a long time. Maybe they don't feel obligated to do it or want to do it when he's healthy. If he does
Mm-hmm.
get healthy if they get to the championship game. But man, getting DeJean off as good as he is as a punt returner, lessening the risk that he can get hurt. He's this dynamic nickel, man. Covey remember, he's the NFL's best punt returner in 23.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is Jalen really trusted him. Andrew DeCecco could tell you, we both saw it in training camp. Covey and Hurts really started to develop some chemistry.
Yeah.
And remember the game that he got hurt, the first game that he got hurt, when he fractured his shoulder blade. He had 6 catches. So the guy's good in a short area. They could use that. Anyway.
Indeed. I mean, it would not surprise me if he were healthy at the conference and cleared that they play him for the sake of getting Cooper DeJean out of that spot. It would not surprise me at all. But we have to cross that bridge when we
Yes.
get there, and that wouldn't be until the championship game. Other guys on IR, it's some of these guys you forget were even on team, but LaRaven Clark, who was a practice squad IR, if I'm not mistaken, he's been
Actually,
out since.
no. He
No.
actually no. This is the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I knew he went on IR.
Oh, you're
He
right. It was
actually
an OTA IR. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know I have no idea what the injury is there. Yeah, I couldn't find out, but undisclosed, we'll call it. He was placed on IR in May. Boy, it really must have been bad where they wouldn't even get a settlement with him. I don't know what not they don't I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's
know they've
interesting.
what's that?
It's May. Like most, even Achilles, even ACLs are now 6 to 8 months. I mean, we're pretty far removed from May.
Well, not only that, usually if it's a guy who's sort of a bottom of the roster player like Clark, you would think they would just reach an injury settlement with him and his
Right,
agent.
right.
I don't know. That's kind of weird. I was just going through their injury situation, just trying to evaluate it. I'm like, wow, they've had a pretty good year. Like look, you lose BG, that sucked big time. He was playing exceptionally well. Let's not
Yeah.
forget how well he's playing before he tore his left triceps.
Mm-hmm.
And then Van Sumeren had was Van Sumeren in a Saturday like it was a practice. It was practice. I know
It was a
that.
practice. Yes, he got hurt in a Friday, I believe, practice.
Okay. And then James Bradbury had a pretty significant foot injury.
Mm.
So that's it. I mean, they've Dean missed one game. We were expecting him to be good to go. Let's hope gets through the protocol the rest of the week and is good to go. I mean, the thing that I worry about is, and we talked about this in the roundtable,
Yep.
is the timing. People forget he was exceptional in that Steelers game, exceptional, and that was the closest that game against the Steelers. That was the game before Washington. Was the closest to Kellen Moore's offense we've seen since Week 1 versus the Packers. When that was Kellen Moore's offense, he did everything. Like Kellen did everything he wants.
Hmm.
And then this Pittsburgh game, they took the wheels off, and Jalen, they came out throwing 5 of the first 6 called plays were passes, and I was like, wow. And Jalen was great. And
Hmm.
then he gets hurt, so you just don't know. He hasn't practiced since December 20th. That's concerning.
No doubt about it. All right, so those are the injuries for the Eagles, of course, presented by our friends at Stretch Zone. Get a free 30-minute stretch by signing up at stretchzone.com. And Adam, tell them where they can go for their stretch.
And by the way, for that free 30-minute stretch, there's absolutely no obligation. Just to bring you in, when I had mine just over 3 years ago, so I went to the one in Exton. So this guy, Matt Abrams, comes up to me. He's the regional manager who actually went to my high school, Cheltenham. I didn't know Matt. He came up to me, knew who I was. He asked me why I was here. I told him. Dave Spadaro of the Eagles told me about it. I went in. There was no obligation. No, I got my consultation for 25 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it was, and he gave me the stretch. He gave me a great stretch. I didn't even have to go through it. I said, dude, I want this. When I became mostly vegan, I felt the same way. My body was open up. My muscles were open up. I've never felt like that. And this comes from the heart. Folks got to know me from our show over the years. For 7 years, we've been doing this. We only have sponsors we believe in and partnerships, and I believe in these people. They do a phenomenal job. So where do I go to get it? Whether it's in PA in Haverford near Suburban Square, Devon near the Whole Foods, see my man Tyler. Big hockey guy, Tyler. Exton in the Whiteland Town Center. Austin, my guy. Hassan, phenomenal. The manager. Nick, who's great. Emily or Madison. South Philly near Graduate Hospital on 25th and Washington Ave. Montgomery County, Elkins Park, where I grew up in Elkins Park Plaza. Right around the corner from the old Aldrich Road skating rink where I used to go on Fridays and fall down. Upper Dublin in Dresher, in the Promenade in Upper Dublin off 611. Feasterville Lower, Southampton Village. In New Jersey near you, and Cherry Hill and Evesham Road. By the way, who gives you the stretch in Cherry Hill?
I have a couple of different practitioners I've
Okay.
seen. Adam has been the one who I've done with most, and then
Good
there's
name. Nice.
yeah, Adam, good name, big Cardinals fan, big Arizona Cardinals fan.
I still can't believe there is one. Okay.
Yeah, yes. There's been Sierra. There has
Nice.
been one other. So
Oh, God, the guy gave me a phenomenal stretch. He moved back to he was in Exton now. I think he's at the one he's either Mount Laurel or Cherry Hill. But anyway,
mhm.
to Cherry Hill and Eastern Road where you go, Mount Laurel and Centerton Square and the Wegmans, right across the street from NFL Films. Franklin Lakes on Franklin Ave, Northfield on Tilton Road in Princeton, and Nassau Park Pavilion. You could call their number, call your local stretch zone, or you could sign up. You could do it in person. Again, 30 minutes. Why not feel better like Geoff and I do? StretchZone.com.
All right, let's get some early word here on the Packers
Yeah.
injuries. And, there was a lot of concern coming out of their game against the Bears, so much that Matt LaFleur was like, we're done. We're pulling guys after the half. So Jordan Love wound up hurting his elbow a little bit. And Christian Watson obviously carted off the field, and he is out for the rest of the playoffs with an right ACL tear. So
Yep.
that's a big loss for them, my friend. They are a unique team where he might be their most. He's definitely their speediest receiver. I'm not
He's
sure if
their
I would call him
shot play guy.
right. I wouldn't call him their most talented wide receiver, but he probably has the most game-changing ability. But they're such
Yep.
a deep team, and they have so many good, not great, but really good pass catchers from the wide receiver to the tight end position that ordinarily I would say, oh man, for another team, I might say this is a death knell, but I don't think it's a death knell for the Packers. I think they're still pretty good and deep.
So the way I see it, we're going to talk. I'll run this by Carousel. Christian Watson is probably one of the top 5 to 7 best shot play receivers. Like he doesn't get a lot of targets, but when he does, more often than not, it's deep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I know he scored against the Eagles on a short pass in the red zone in week 1, but this guy's a shot play receiver. That's going to impact them. The guy I think is going to be that guy. Now he was a deep threat in college, but not so much in the pros. It's Dontavian Wicks, number
Mhm.
13, who's really talented. He was a fifth round of UVA last year. Uh, Romeo Dobbs, who didn't play last week due to the illness, he'll play this week. He's a good he catches in the intermediate area and then runs after the catch. Bo Melton from Rutgers, who's been a nice story, and Jaden Reed, who's more of a slot receiver. By the way, he had the catch and run for 70 yards against the Eagles, but he's really not a deep threat.
Right.
So it's going to impact them, not
Yeah.
from a pass target standpoint, but from a shot from stretching the field.
Sure.
It's just harder.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, to your point on shot plays, the guy has not had in any single game he's played this year more than 4 catches in a game. So he's
there you
not a
go.
high
Yep.
volume possession guy
Nope.
at all. And in fact, in 5 games he's played in, he had 0 catches for 0 yards. So he's only caught a pass in 10 games this year. He's only had 2 games over 100 yards, and he's only had 3 games of more than 3 catches. So
But
again, I think the name's sort of like, oh man, they're missing Christian Watson. No, he does deprive them of a certain element, but they've survived plenty on not giving the ball to Christian Watson. They have other good players.
yeah, and then they got it's really interesting. They like Musgrave was they're going to be their move tight end, number 88, and Tucker Kraft is the Y tight end. And then Musgrave got hurt. In fact, he's been hurt both years.
Hmm.
He missed a big chunk of the season, and Kraft like kind of came out of nowhere. He's not super athletic. He's kind of a versatile tight end, and Musgrave's the athletic guy. So you're right, they've got plenty of pass targets, even without Watson, because Watson was never going to be a high volume guy. He's just a deep threat,
Right.
but they don't have him, and that's a factor.
Hmm.
This offensive line is one of these situations where you go, how they doing this? Good coaching. But man, you look at their line; they've overachieved. This is we're going to talk more about this when we preview the game. We'll talk Friday morning show, our game preview. We'll do the pregame show with Greg. I'm interested to see if the Eagles could beat this line because man, they've done a great job of protecting Love. I think you had the number. What was the number? You had the number when Love really gets was it 14? That's it.
Oh, 14 times he's been sacked this year. Yeah.
That's crazy. I know he's doing a better job of processing, but that's hard to believe. When you look at this line, Sean Ryan, who spells it Rhyan, Zach Tom has been a great. I'll say Zach Tom's come out of nowhere, number 50 as the
Mhm.
right tackle. Rasheed Walker's decent. Eldon Jenkins used to be a left tackle. He's been hurt a lot. Josh Myers, a
Mhm.
nice player. The first round pick. Jordan Morgan's on an IR anyway. He wasn't going to start, but they've overachieved. I give them credit. I what can I tell you? They've done a good
Yeah.
job.
They're a really well coached team. I mean, there's
They
no
are.
doubt about it. They're
Yep.
well
Yep.
coached, and their talent development has always been strong. That's why every year after year after year, and that goes back to that playoff game we talked about with Aaron Rodgers and guys you never heard of catching touchdowns, is because they've always been a very good talent development team, and they've always figured it out at the quarterback position, which helps the talent around you develop. Now, Romeo Doubs had an illness. He didn't play last week. I
Yeah,
imagine.
he should play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
should be
should play.
fine. So those are the offensive guys. We'll get to the defensive guys in a second. First, I want to pause real quick to hear a word from our great friends at Sky Motor Cars.
Sky Motor Cars in Westchester is a different sort of dealership. All it takes is one look at their Highline pre-owned vehicles that people all over the country want and need. Owner Brett Schulter, make sure you don't spend a dime of your money before you purchase the car. Sky Motor Cars allows you to make all the decisions regarding your next vehicle. At Sky Motor Cars, you never have to spend more than necessary. Visit SkyMotorCars.com today or call 610-918-7225.
If you hop into Sky Motor Cars out there in Westchester, PA, make sure you tell them Adam just sent you. You'll get a great deal. You'll get great customer service. You'll find fantastic inventory. It's not just buying a car, it could be trading a car. It is just a wonderful car buying experience. And if you can't get in there, again, go visit them at skymotorcars.com. So for the defense, Adam, a little bit more of a dicey story for them. The big one is Jair Alexander being on IR. I mean, he's hurt a lot, but they're a different team when he's healthy and when he's playing. He's a little bit weird, but
Oh, last year.
he's a good player. And,
Yeah.
you
You want
know,
to
it's
tell
not
him what
good.
you want to tell him what you were referring to? That was one of the most bizarre situations against the Panthers last year.
Well, yeah, but then he did an interview like a week ago with like this gigantic oversized hat on. Like he's just strange. He does strange interviews, and
Well, he came out. He was not active, and he
right.
decided to come out as a team captain.
Yeah,
against the Panthers. And now, what I don't recall is, did he tell the coaches he was going to do this, or he
I
just did
think
it?
he did not. I think because he got suspended for it, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Okay, because that's bizarre.
It's bizarre.
That's what happened. Allegedly, we don't. I can't remember. It's been too long, but
Right.
they played a number of games without him this season, so it's not like they didn't have a plan without him. So I'm interested to see what they do, because what happened last week was they have four safeties on the they have five safeties on the roster. Two were hurt. The top two backup safeties were out. Evan Williams has missed three straight games with a quadriceps injury. Zane Anderson, who was claimed off waivers from Buffalo, the Bills, he had a concussion. So behind Bullard, who missed time with an ankle injury, was this Keaton Oladapo. He came in, and what they did was, as I understand it, so when they went to nickel, they moved Bullard inside, and Oladapo, who's a fifth rounder, came in, and they pulled Eric Stokes off the field. So we'll see. And Keyshawn Nixon has been such a great story,
Yeah.
who people really thought, oh, he's just a special teams returner. The best in 22, he was over 1,000 yards. Like, he's great at it, but he's trying to be a quality corner, and they look, again, they've gotten used to it without Jair Alexander. Eric Stokes has really never played to the level that they hoped he would have in 2021. I know not everybody. He was the first rounder then. He's had some injuries. There's some teams that didn't like him as a first round pick, but hey, Carrington Valentine is the guy that's been filling in on the outside. So to me, they're great at safety with McKinney, especially, who's had a great year. Eagles were high on him. He was either going to be an Eagle or Packer, and he went up going to the Packers. I don't know what kind of money Eagles were thinking there, but hey, Gardner Johnson's doing a good job. But that's a beatable cornerback group, and that's I'll be interested to see what the Eagles' plan is. Are they going to be aggressive? We know that Barkley's got to get the football, but the question is, will they be aggressive throwing it?
That's right. As far as other guys who are on defense, it looks like they're hoping Quay Walker, the linebacker, missed last 3 games, and Evan Williams, safety, who's missed the last 3 games. Sounds like they're optimistic that they'll be able to go, but obviously we have to get through this week of practice and see how it turns out for him.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Jeff Hafley is running a 43 front. So they haven't run a 43 front, and I don't know how long. It's got to be, it might be 20 years. I don't know. It's been several years. Anyway, so, and they're just doing this because you only have so many linebackers. Cooper's been filling in for Quay Walker. Cooper, a lot of people thought was the best inside backer for this draft. And Isaiah McDuffie, who Barkley beat in week 1 on the wheel route. And as you said, it's a game of inches. It just missed him, McDuffie's hand. But great throw by Hurts and great catch by Barkley. And at the other linebacker is former Eagle, and it didn't go well for him, is Eric Wilson, his other starting outside linebacker. Believe it or not.
Good for him, because I really thought he was done when he was an Eagle. So good for him to be able to come back.
Yeah, quite the story. Like, who would have believed it? So it's interesting. And before we get out of here, they've had such bad luck with their backup running backs. A.J. Dillon wound up not playing this season. Remember, they brought him back for a year, and he hurt his neck.
Yeah.
Never played. And Marshawn Lloyd had he only played 1 game this season. The rare NFI non-football injury and also IR in the same season. He had he had appendectomy, and also the Journal Sentinel reported that the reason why he went on NFI this time was a hamstring injury. Now, I don't know why he would go on NFI. I don't know why. That made this bizarre to me, like why that would happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened there. That's weird. Usually don't do that when a guy gets hurt at your facility or around there. I don't know. Bizarre. But anyway, if he was rehabbing on his own, that's why you can do it. But anyway, it's too bad, because they wanted him to be the third down back, or help out to be the third down back. Certainly help out Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
And that won't happen. And I know for fantasy it sucks. I know a lot of people are thinking like it'd be a good late round pick. It didn't happen. But the big one, well, Jordan Love, that they fully expect him to play. In fact, he was feeling better apparently after the game. Like as the hours went by, he was feeling better. But the big one is not having that shot play guy, because you got to account for him when Christian Watson is on the field, number 9. You got to count for him, but you don't have to count for him anymore because he is not playing.
All right, there you go. That is the Packers injuries. Of course, we'll have that more covered as we do on Friday, and then the Inside the Birds pregame show. Myself, Adam, and Greg Cosell will have it even more. That is going to do it, my friends, for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the Birds. Be sure to check out our friends at PHLSportsNation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at PHLSportsNation.com and on Twitter at PHLSportsNation.